what's happening around the world
and what's happening here at home. A very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Rochelle Pramodara.
and I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Presidential candidates reveal plans to build the country.
මේ මාතෘ භූමියට ආදරය කරන ඒකියත්වයට ගරු කරන සංස්කෘතියට ගරු කරන දේශපාලන ප්‍රතිපත්ති ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙන එකම දේශපාලන බලවේගය ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ.
මේ නැගෙමින් තිබෙන මේ වර්ධනය වෙමින් තිබෙන මේ ජනතාවගේ බලාපොරොත්තු වෙමින් තිබෙන මේ ගමන මොන ජගතිකටවත් ආයෙ නම් නතර කරන්න බෑ.
ජාතික සම්පත් හරි කළමනාකරණයක් තුලින් නිවැරදි ක්‍රමවේදයක් තුලින් ඇත්තටම මේව ලාභ ලබන අතිශය ලාභ ලබන ආයතන බවට පත් කරන්නට පුළුවන්.
තව ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි උපයන පිට ගෙවන බද්ද. ඒකත් විශාල ප්‍රශ්නයක්. IMF සංවිධානය අපි එකඟ වෙලා තියෙනවා ඒක සංශෝධනය කරන්න උවමනයි කියලා. මූලික තීරණය අරගෙන ඉවරයි.
Petition challenging Ranil Wickremesinghe's presidential candidacy dismissed. Ranil and Sajid to unveil election manifestos tomorrow. National People's Power rejects President's invitation to join a discussion with the IMF.
ඒක අපි IMF එකත් එක්ක කතා කරගන්න. ඒක ඊට කලින් මේ රටේ ජනතාවගේ ජනවරමෙන් IMF එකත් එක්ක ගනුදෙනු කරන්න ඕන කොහොමද කියන එක අනුමත කරනවා සැප්තැම්බර් මාසේ 21 වෙනිදාට.
Several factions oppose attempts to import medicine through an Indian company without NMRA approval. Queues continue to obtain passports. Solution to national issues lies within an internal mechanism. Won't accept an international investigation, says Minister Ali Sabri.
Sri Lanka
Sri Lanka decides.
Presidential candidate Namal Rajapaksa said that Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna upholds policies that prioritize patriotism and unity more than the other candidates. He expressed these views addressing a presidential campaign rally today.
A rally organised for the presidential candidate of the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna Namal Rajapaksa was held in Ambalangoda today. Several parliamentarians of the SLPP attended the rally.
We are a political party that loves the nation. Every political decision we made has always been with the country in mind, not with any personal agendas. Regardless of the challenges, we made the right decisions. We formed a government with the support of 6.9 million people, which was stopped by a conspiracy. We still believe that Gotabaya Rajapaksa's government was overthrown by a conspiracy. We've seen how the government collapsed in Bangladesh. But Gotabaya Rajapaksa strategically protected the state even after the government collapsed, something that could not be achieved in Bangladesh. We were able to establish a government, appoint a president, establish law and order in the country and bring this country back to a state of security. Because of that, 6.9 million people voted for it. We won't make any decisions that is unfavorable for the country. Similarly, when we look at the manifestos of the candidates and their current political landscape, I am proud and pleased to say that the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna is the only party that has gone beyond the other three candidates and presented political policies that not only differ from theirs but also deeply respect the unity and prioritize love for the nation. To those who speak about queues today, yes, the queues were reduced by increasing prices, but with the introduction of technology and system changes, queues can be completely eliminated. For instance, the passport queue still exists. Even today, people wait in line for days and hours to obtain a passport. This isn't a new issue. During Gotabaya Rajapaksa's government, as the Minister of Technology, we initiated a program to offer passports online and establish digital identities.
Several MPs also addressed the rally.
Nama Rajapaksa is the eldest son of Mahinda Rajapaksa, who protected the people of this country. I heard someone saying that he fled during the Aragalaya. I recall that during the crisis, we, the MPs, were trapped in temple trees. Around 50,000 people surrounded the premises, attempting to storm in and kill Mahinda Rajapaksa. At that moment, I approached Nama Rajapaksa and said, "Your parents are leaving." Then he replied, "I will only leave the place after everyone else has left." I thought to myself, in such a dire situation, most would have fled to save their lives, knowing the mob was out for blood. But Nama Rajapaksa had the courage to say, because he is the son of Mahinda Rajapaksa. If it had been anyone else, they would have run to save their life. That day, Nama Rajapaksa stood firm with the people. These are the people who love Nama Rajapaksa from the bottom of their hearts. Therefore, we have no doubt about our achievements. We are confident in our support. We challenge Sajith Premadasa's Ambalangod electorate and Ranil Wickremesinghe's Ambalangod electorate to bring a gathering like this. We are sure that's not possible.
The presidential candidate of the National People's Power, Kumara Dissanayake, said that there will be no tolerance for electoral fraud in the upcoming presidential election.
Another event in the series of election campaign rallies for the National People's Power's presidential candidate Kumara Dissanayake took place today at the Kantale bus stand. The rally was attended by numerous activists, including the executive members of the National People's Power.
I
have heard that Sajith Premadasa's team vacated their offices just a week ago and are now in the process of dismantling them. It has already begun. It is evident that the political landscape is shifting towards the National People's Power. However, there is lingering concern that Ranil Wickremesinghe might take action at the last moment. Be assured, there is nothing that can be done now. We have the cooperation of government officials overseeing the election to prevent any form of corruption. Currently, more than 70 to 80% of officials in each office are aligned with the National People's Power. Government officials who are spearheading the election campaign should ensure that there are no disruptions on election day and that ballot papers remain intact. Why? Because the aim of those involved in the election campaign is to secure a victory for the National People's Power. Additionally, there is a need for police assistance to executive subversive activities. Do you think the police will assist in this? Do not allow it. They will not involve the military. They are aligned with the National People's Power. No force in the world can obstruct this rising movement. This is what people are counting on. Yet, we have a duty. We are not seeking just any victory, but a decisive one.
Addressing the rally, executive member of the NPP Sunil Handunethi responded to the president's invitation for a discussion about the IMF agreement.
Ranil Wickremesinghe signed the agreement with the IMF without disclosing it to Parliament or to the public. Basil Rajapaksa signed the agreement in New York and Ranil Wickremesinghe later confirmed it. Ranil claimed he wanted to inform the country, but did he reveal the debt restructuring clauses to the people? Did he disclose this to the public? Ranil Wickremesinghe, who secretly managed that agreement, is now engaging with us. He should present the program related to the IMF to the nation. We will engage with the IMF on this matter. Before that, it is imperative that the people of this country decide how they wish to address the IMF issue. On the 21st of September, what is critical to us is not the IMF but the people's mandate. We propose a suggestion to Ranil Wickremesinghe. Let us use Zoom to have a conversation with Arjuna Mahendran. Shall we have a discussion with Arjuna Mahendran?
Opposition leader and SJB presidential candidate Sajith Premadasa has asserted that the Sevanagala and Palbatta sugar factories will be transformed into profitable enterprises under a Samagi Jana Bala Bege government.
A rally to endorse the victory of Samagichana Balavege's presidential candidate Sajid Premadasa was held in Vallavaya this afternoon. Members of Parliament from the allied parties of the Samagichana Balavege also participated in the rally.
පැල්ලත්ත සෙවණගල සීනි කර්මාන්ත ශාලාවල ඒ සේවය කරන නිලධාරී මහත්මීන් මාව හමුවන්නට ආවා. අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා මේ දෙකම ජාතික සම්පත්.
Officials from the Palvatta and Semanagala sugar factories have approached me with their concerns. We are confident that these factories can be converted into highly lucrative institutions through effective management of national resources and strategic methodologies. This government seems intent on privatizing every viable institution it encounters. They are attempting to privatize profitable sectors such as Sri Lanka Telecom, Litro Gas and the Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation. Our country has become a marketplace for selling off its assets. I want to stress that over 30,000 individuals are employed by the Palvatta and Semanagala sugar factories, including farming families. We are committed to halting the sale of these institutions to unethical entities and are dedicated to leveraging these national resources for the public good. While the current government boasts about its achievements, it fails to even manage passport issuance and is now attempting to acquire passports. Can such a government truly advance Vallavaya, Munragala or improve infrastructure? Remember, it was our administration that developed these villages and towns.
General Secretary of the Samagichana Balavege expressed the following.
Today, Sajid Premadasa stands out as one of the most exceptional politicians in the country. Our goal is to rejuvenate this struggling nation. We believe Sajid Premadasa is uniquely positioned to restore the agricultural system of your ancestors, providing essential fertilizer, seeds and medicine. Tomorrow we will unveil our manifesto. We promise to reduce the cost of fertilizer to 5,000 rupees, down from the current 20,000 to 30,000 rupees. Additionally, we are working to offer seeds, medicine and agrochemicals at more affordable rates. Under Sajid's leadership, we aim to create an environment where the less fortunate can access financial assistance and reliable food security.
Independent presidential candidate Ranil Wickremesinghe, while addressing a rally held in Ahaliagoda this afternoon, said he is holding discussions with the International Monetary Fund regarding the pay tax revision proposals.
A Puluwan Sri Lanka rally held for the victory of independent presidential candidate Ranil Wickremesinghe was held in Ahaliagoda today.
වැටුණු රටට පණ දෙන්න පිනට රට රනිල් කෙනෙක් හැදුවා කරනෑර අරන් බර හිසින් දරන් තනි නායකයා ආවා වීරයක් නොව වීරයක් කියලා නමක් වෙනස් කරුවේ ආයේ වැටුණු බැරි නිසා නැතුව බැරි නුවණ රනිල් ඔබවේ වීරයක් නොව වීරයක් කියලා නමක් වෙනස් කරුවේ ආයේ වැටුණු බැරි නිසා නැතුව බැරි නුවණ රනිල් ඔබ
ගෑස් නැති කාලේ.
When there was no gas, electricity, medicine or funds, we all gathered here and rebuilt this country. Unfortunately, my friend Honorable Kumara Dissanayake, along with the NPP and my former deputy leader Sajid Premadasa, along with the SJB, didn't join us. They said we came together to steal. There was one difference between them and us. We are patriots. We are loyal both to the party and the nation. As politicians, we are also loyal to the people. That's why we united on this stage to remind you of what we've done so far, and we are seeking a public mandate to continue our work. Another issue is the payee tax. That is a major issue. We have agreed with the IMF that it needs to be revised. The initial decision has been reached. We have presented one proposal and they have presented another proposal. We will announce the exact amount after discussing the two proposals and reaching an agreement. Subsidies were given to government employees and the pay tax is being revised to provide relief. Andrukumar Dissanayake and Sajith Premadasa says taxes will be reduced. Can you provide relief by reducing taxes? I would like MP Andrukumar Dissanayake and the opposition leader to tell this country how to protect the value of the rupee by reducing revenue. That path will lead to another gas, fuel and medicine shortage. That's all. I only have one request. Think about your future and vote for the gas cylinder on September 21st. If not, don't blame me for the gas shortage.
ඔබේ අනාගතය ගැන හිතලා සැප්තැම්බර් 21 වෙනිදා ගෑස් සිලින්ඩර් එක ළඟින් කතරේ ගහන්න. ඒක නැකෙරුවොත් ගෑස් සිලින්ඩර් නැහැ කියලා මට බයින්න එපා.
Several ministers supporting Ranil Wickremesinghe also expressed their views at the rally.
බොහෝම අමාරුවෙන් ICU එකේ පණ ඇදමින් හිටපු අපේ රටේ ආර්ථිකය රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමා ICU එකෙන් වාට්ටුවට මාරු කළා. දැන් රටක් විදියට අපි කරන්න ඕනි ඒ වාට්ටුවට මාරු කරපු ලෙඩා සනීප කළා ගෙදර යවනවා මිසක් NPP කියන වැරදි ඉන්ජෙක්ෂන් එක ගහලා මේ මාතෘ භූමිය නැවත මේ මාතෘ භූමිය කියන ලෙඩා ICU එකට යවන එක නෙවෙයි මිත්‍රවරුනි අපි වගකීම් යුතු පුරවැසියෝ විදියට කරන්න ඕනි. වෙනදා බෙදිලා වෙන් වෙලා
A number of parties that used to be divided have come together in one platform today. 33 odd parties including the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, United National Party, Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Mahajan Eksat Peramuna, People's Party and Ceylon Workers Congress have come together to bring victory to the nation by ensuring the re-election of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. We have united in the fight to bring victory to Ranil Wickremesinghe to rebuild the economy and build a future for the people.
රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ දිනවීමේ සරණට උරදීලා තියෙන්නේ මිත්‍රවරුනි. හෙට දිනේ
Ranil Wickremesinghe will unveil his election manifesto tomorrow, which is one that could be made a reality compared to everyone else's election manifestos.
තමුන්නාන්සලාට ජනගත කරනවා.
Presidential candidate of the Socialist People's Forum, Nuwan Bopage, says the IMF is not a feasible solution to the current economic crisis.
The first of a series of presidential candidates' media conferences organized by the Department of Government Information was held today to facilitate a platform for all presidential candidates to present their policies to the general public. Presidential candidate Nuwan Bopage was the first attendee.
Our stance is not that we will amend the IMF agreement. We are calling to exit the IMF. We will exit the IMF program completely. We have approached the IMF 16 times before. On 9 of those instances, we exited the program or were forced to exit the program. Why? Because those conditions cannot be met. The IMF is a creditor organization. It is a business to lend the wealth of the global West to countries like ours. When you consider the figures in this business, the IMF is a primary organization. This is not our savior. Their intention is to loot the funds of our people and channel it to international sovereign bond holders and bilateral creditors. Apart from that, this is not an organization committed to provide relief to the people. Therefore, we will seek the mandate through our manifesto to exit the IMF agreement.
Independent presidential candidate Roshan Ranasinghe says he will contest the presidential election with a proposal to amend the constitution. He expressed these views during a media briefing in Colombo today.
We are appointing an executive president in this country. That is why I am bringing forth a constitutional amendment. This constitutional amendment proposes to abolish the office of the executive president. It will replace it with a parliamentary system where the Prime Minister is accountable to the Parliament and parliamentarians are accountable to their electorate. Additionally, the amendment will reduce the frequency of money-funded elections from 4 to 2. It includes provisions to enhance audit and judicial powers, establish a single audit commission and strengthen the corrections commission and other related bodies.
දැඩිසේ ශක්තිමත් කිරීම මේ ව්‍යවස්ථා සංශෝධනය තුල ඇතුළත් කරලා තියෙනවා.
Leap of the day.
A group of Sri Lanka Freedom Party members visited the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna headquarters in Nelum Mawatha this morning for a discussion.
Udit Lokubandara, a former member of parliament and former personal secretary to Mahinda Rajapaksa, as well as an activist of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, recently expressed his support for the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. He had previously served as the organizer for the Haputala electorate of the SLFP. Today, Udit Lokubandara, accompanied by a few others, attended a meeting of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna office and left shortly after.
අමුත්තොටයක් ඇවිල්ලා කියලා ආරංචියක් තියෙනවා පක්ෂයට ඇත්තද
රට පුරාම ජනතාව එකතු වෙනවා විවිධ තාරාතිරම් වල ඔය ඉහලින් මේ නායකයෝ මාරු වුණාට පල්ලෙහා ජනතාව ගිහිල්ලා නැහැ
අර උදිත ලොකු බණ්ඩාර මහත්තයා ඇවිල්ලා ටග් ගාලා දොර ඇරලා පැනලා ගියා මොකද උනේ එතුමා සමාජිකත්වය අරගෙන
නෑ මම ඇත්තටම උදිත ලොකු බණ්ඩාර මහත්මයා එනවා හරි යනවා හරි දැක්කේ නෑ බෑ එතුමාත් මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපතිතුමාලා කාලයක් වැඩ කරපු කෙනෙක් ඒ නිසා ඒ ගැටලුවක් නෑ මම හිතන ඇවිල්ලා මොනවා කතා කරාද කියන කාරණාව ඇත්තටම මම දන්නේ නෑ
දැන් බාර ගන්න සූදානම්ද
නෑ අපි එක දෙයක් කියලා තියෙනවා අපේ පක්ෂයටත් යම් කණ්ඩායම් ඒකාබද්ධ කර ගැනීමේදී පිරිසිදු වුණු පක්ෂයට අපිරිසිදු වුණු චරිත මොනවා හරි ගන්නවා නම් එතෙන්දී අපි කෙලින්ම පක්ෂයත් එක්ක කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා කියන කාරණාව අපි කියලා තියෙනවා.
Strengthening the people, fighting for the truth, leading a nation, forging the future. Newsfirst with the people.
දවපින්කාරු වැඩමුළුව හා ප්‍රදර්ශනය NVQ සහතිකලාබී වෘත්තීය පින්තාරු ශිල්පියෙක් ශිල්පිනියක් වීමට ඔබත් අදම එක්වන්න. විස්තර හා ව්‍යාපදිංචි වීමට අමතන්න 0777 6040. ජැට් පින්තාරු අභිමාන දේශීය දෙව පින්තාරු කරන්නේ උන්නතිය උදෙසා. For a rich country, රට අනුරට.
Welcome back to the news. Now, concerns have been expressed about attempts to import unregistered medicines from 2 Indian companies without a procurement process. The Sri Lanka Chamber of Pharmaceutical Industry has sent a letter to the chairman of the National Medicines Regulatory Authority, raising concerns about the proposed schemes.
The Sri Lanka Chamber of the Pharmaceutical Industry, or SLCPI, has sent a letter to the chairman of the National Medicines Regulatory Authority, or NMRA, raising concerns about 2 proposed cabinet papers seeking to procure medicines from India. The letter highlighted that one of these papers has already been approved by the Cabinet of Ministers. The SLCPI has expressed concerns about the approval of 37 unregistered products from an Indian company without a procurement process. The SLCPI also noted that while local representative agencies are not registered to supply all drugs, they have been able to supply drugs for which there is little demand when needed for government hospitals. The SLCPI argues that the schemes could bypass the NMRA registration process, undermining local regulators and harming local manufacturers. The Frontline Socialist Party also expressed views on the matter during a media briefing today.
There are several key points in the cabinet paper dated August 30. One of them is that 37 types of essential medicines have been requested for emergency purchases without calling for tenders. According to the minister, not a single company has been registered by the NMRA for many types of drugs. After inviting tenders for another 21 types of medicines, no bids were submitted, which is why the 37 types of medicines are being urgently purchased. Historically, Fraudulent activities and corruptions were carried out under the guise of emergency purchases, which is why Keheliya Ramukwella is currently in prison. There is serious suspicion that the current Health Minister Ramesh Pathirana is engaging in these activities to benefit financially from the general election. Additionally, there are concerns that this could allow India to monopolize the supply of drugs to hospitals in Sri Lanka.
හවන උත්සාහය. අවබෝධතා කිවිසුම ඉන්දියාවත් එක්ක අස්සම් කරනවා කියලා කිව්වට මේකේ නිශ්චිතව නම් කරලා තියෙනවා සමාගමක්.
The Academy of Health Professionals had this to say.
මේ අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩල පත්‍රිකාව අනුව කියලා තියෙනවා මේක ඇමරිකාවේ හෝ එංගලන්තයේ.
According to the cabinet paper, it is suggested that it would be better if the standard were aligned with those of the United States or the United Kingdom rather than India. We are asking whether the NMRA has changed its policy or if there is a double standard or if these actions are happening without the regulatory authorities' knowledge. We are concerned that this may revert to the practices of former Minister Keheliya Ramukwella. Why is there an American standard here when the Indian standard is considered acceptable? Will this not harm the public and the quality of the medicines in this country? If there was perceived harm in the past, why was it considered then? As local manufacturers, will it benefit us if the pharmaceutical companies in this country are subordinated to companies like those in India? We request an explanation for the public. There is also a risk that the SPC of our country may close during this period.
Chairman of the National Medicines Regulatory Authority, Dr. Anand Vijayavikrama told Newsfirst that he was not aware of any such cabinet paper.
Lengthy queues were observed opposite the head office and regional offices of the Department of Immigration and Immigration today, as well as people gathered to obtain their passports. Passports will be issued on a first-come, first-served basis starting today, while the number of passports issued per day has been capped at 750.
People intending to obtain passports were seen remaining opposite the Department of Immigration and Immigration since last night. The police intervened to ensure those gathered at the location were granted an opportunity to obtain passports methodically based on the time of their arrival.
මේ ඕගනයිස් කරලා නැහැ කිසිම දෙයක් මෙතනද අද මට අද හවසේ යන්න දෙමුනේ යන්න බැරි වුණාද ඔව් අද දවසේ යන්න දෙමුනේ අද යන්න බැරි වුණා දැන් දවස් දෙකක් තිස්සේ මෙතන ඉන්නවා මේක ගන්න කිසිම කෙනෙක් එන්නේ නැහැ කිසිම කෙනෙක් උත්තරයක් මොන වගකීමක් එක්කත් නැහැ අපිට ගියාම මෙහෙට යන්න කියනවා මෙහෙට යන්න කියනවා එකම දේ තමයි අන්තිමට එකම තැන අපි ඔය පොඩි ලියකිවිල්ලක් අවුල්ලා ඒකට මේ රිජෙක්ට් කරලා දිනනවා දැන් ඉතින් අදත් ඉන්නේ මාර පොලිම අද 749 අපි සමහර විට පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා ඉන්නවා ඉතින් තවත් බැරුවගේ අපි සල්ලි දීලා පාස්පෝර්ට් එක ණයට ගන්නව නම් ගමන්න පාස්පෝර්ට් එක සල්ලි දීලාවත් හදා ගන්න බැරුව ඉන්නේ.
These are scenes captured opposite the Department of Immigration and Immigration this morning.
යන්නේකට යන්න දීපියවකෝ මුන්ට පෝස්ටර් ගහන කොළ තියෙනවා පාස්පෝර්ට් එක ගහලා දෙන්න කොළ නැහැ. බොණ්ඩ වතුර ටිකක් තියෙනවාද? ආයි රිටර්න් කරනවා සමහරව මේ බේගන්න පාස්පෝර්ට් එකේ කො මේ පිටරටින් එවපු ડોකියුමන්ට්ස් ඉල්ලනවා. මේ ජොබ් නෑ රිටර්න් කරා. ඊයේ 200ක් රිටර්න් කරලා. සිකුරාදා උදේ 8:20ට එයාපෝට් එකෙන් පිටත් වෙන්න ඕන. දවස් 6ක් මම මෙතන හිටියා. මගේ නිමාඩුවේ දවස් 6ක් මෙතන ඉඳලා මම මේ වැඩ කටයුතු කරගත්තේ.
Lengthy queues persisted opposite the Kandy branch of the Department of Immigration and Immigration this morning as well.
මම අවුරුදු 20ක් try කරා රට යන්න. මට හම්බුණ පළමු chance එක මේක. තව අවුරුදු 3යි මට තියෙන 45න් පස්සේ මට රට යන්න බෑ. සමුද්‍රය ඉඳලා ඉන්නවා තාම ගෙදර ගෙන මේ ඇඳුම් පිටින්ම මායි දුවයි දෙන්න. අපිට හෙට දවසට chance එක ලැබෙයි කියලා අපි මේ බලාපොරොත්තුෙන් ඉන්නවා දැන්. පොලිමට වෙලා.
අපි ගෙවලා තියන්නේ හැමෝටම. අපි තමයි ණය වෙලා තියන්නේ. සිස්ටම් එක චේන්ජ් වෙන්න ඕන. හොඳ ආණ්ඩුවක් හොඳ ආකල්ප තියෙන මිනිස්සු වෙන්න ඕනේ. මේ වෙනස් වෙන්න ඕන. ණය නැති වෙන්න ඕන. නැත්නම් හැමදාම අපි ආපහු ගල් යුගයේ තමයි යන්නේ.
This was the queue opposite the Vaunia branch of the Department of Immigration and Immigration today. Our correspondent noted that a tense situation arose between the public and the police at the location. The Department of Immigration and Immigration announced that the issuance of passports were restricted due to a limited supply of fresh passports. Accordingly, 750 passports will be issued daily on a first-come, first-served basis. The department yesterday revealed that it has granted a tender to an entity to launch the e-passport system, and a set of 750,000 fresh passports have been ordered from the same entity. Minister of Foreign Affairs Ali Sabri apologized to the public during a media briefing today for the inconvenience caused owing to the restriction on issuing passports.
I wish to apologize on behalf of the government. I have no control over it, and it is not my ministry either. We are doing our best to obtain a fresh stock of passports. This has arisen since a new system is being introduced. That lot will be received on the 16th of October. Till then, we will have to make do with what we have. I agree that it should have been managed better, and I apologize to the public for the hindrance it is causing as a representative of the government. We are doing our best to resolve the matter soon.
Minister of Public Security Tiran Alas told Newsfirst that the queue for passports had been cleared by approximately 1 p.m. today. He said that a total of 1,090 passports were issued today. He added that passports will be distributed daily to 750 individuals in the queue, with an additional 100 passports reserved for urgent requests. Moving on to more local news, the fundamental rights petition filed before the Supreme Court seeking an interim injunction preventing Ranil Wickremesinghe's presidential candidacy was dismissed today. The petition was filed by attorney R.S.P. Ranasuriya.
The petition was filed stating that the President has violated the Constitution by not taking steps to appoint an acting Inspector General of Police and Supreme Court judges. It was taken up for consideration before a three-judge bench comprising Justices Gamini Amarasekara, Dilip Nawaz and Shiran Gunaratna. The attorney who appeared on behalf of the petitioner presented the facts before the court and requested permission to withdraw the petition. Additional Solicitor General Nerin Pulle, who appeared on behalf of the Attorney General, strongly opposed the request, saying that there are typographical errors as well as legal errors in the petition. The Additional Solicitor General sought dismissal of the petition with costs, alleging that it was based on baseless, false and misleading information. Supreme Court Judge Dilip Nawaz, who strongly criticized the petitioner, said that it is not acceptable for the petitioner as an attorney to file such a flawed petition. He said that according to the Sri Lankan Constitution, a petition cannot be presented in this manner by naming the President personally as a party. The judge also emphasized that the petitioner had submitted the petition without even knowing about the basic law, despite the fact that the petitioner as a lawyer had pledged to protect the Constitution. The judge said that it is observed that the petition has been filed with an ulterior motive beyond typographical errors. He pointed out that even the reliefs that cannot be requested under a fundamental rights petition have been requested in this petition. Accordingly, the unanimous decision of the Supreme Court bench was that the petition should be dismissed, subject to a court fee of 50,000 rupees.
The first phase of the Kerawala-Pittiya Sobha-Danavi power plant, which will add a capacity of 220 megawatts to the national power grid, was inaugurated this morning by President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
First phase of the Sobha-Danavi 350 megawatt LNG.
A capacity of 350 megawatts is to be added to the national grid from the Kerawala-Pittiya Sobha-Danavi power plant. As its first phase, the President declared open the open cycle section, which generates 220 megawatts from the gas turbine today. Plans are in place to complete construction of the dual cycle power plant section, which can generate another 130 megawatts by the fuel used to generate the gas turbine. Kerawala-Pittiya Sobha-Danavi power plant is the first Sri Lankan power plant to be operated on LNG or liquefied natural gas as the primary fuel. The plant can be operated using diesel until the LNG supply is completed. The Sobha-Danavi power plant operates under Lanka Transformer Company, a company controlled by the Ceylon Electricity Board, and they currently have a contract with an Indian company to supply LNG to the power plant.
2
years ago, I saw JVP MP Vijita Herath saying that if we switch to LNG, the foreign countries supply LNG can turn off the switch and stop our electricity supply. Such statements were made in the past. We all know that if someone invests they don't invest to turn off the switch? How will they get their return on investment? How will they expand their services? How will they make their investment a reality? LNG power plants like this one are crucial within the President's program to obtain 70% of power using renewable energy to maintain the efficiency and stability. We will be able to save $200 million annually for our country, economy and the energy sector, as this power plant will operate using LNG by the end of next year and the start of 2026.
Speaking at the event, President Ranil Wickremesinghe said the energy sector is a market which can generate foreign exchange in the future.
Since the election commission was frightened that I would make a political speech today, I have decided to speak in English. We all have to meet the climate change deadline 2050. Therefore, we have to perform, and the more you specialize in renewable energy, the better the chances of going out both in this continent and the African continent. Your plant here, which is 350 megawatts, the Sobadanavi, is one of the needed power stations for Sri Lanka. We are now starting our plan of economic development. No development can take place without power, without energy. And that's what we are working on. As we are coming to an end to the hydropower that we can utilize, we have to now think of new sources of energy which will also fit in to the climate change policies of the world. And here renewable energy will be the next area of concentration for Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka must be a surplus producer of renewable energy. There will be always a demand for surplus energy, and if the India-Singapore power line comes into being, we've just got to get on to it. So there is a future, and this is why this is one of the growth sectors. Like what apparel was for us in 77, renewable energy must be for us in the next decade. So in the government plans have certainly made provision for the expansion of renewable energy. Let's maximize what we have. Next is green hydrogen, which we are looking at, which still is in the formative stages of development elsewhere. But Australia is doing a big amount of work to be a green energy superpower. But we have about 50 gigawatts of energy. And these have to be utilized. We can't allow people to come and try and prevent this being used. We have to use it, and if necessary, new laws should be brought in to allow these power plants to come up quickly. And any objections are disposed of by the government and the cabinet. That's the only way that we could do this. So which means we have the potential not only for renewable energy, but for green hydrogen. Now once green hydrogen works, just imagine we use it in our 3 ports, especially Trincomalee, the closest, and Colombo. Just imagine you have green hydrogen, what potential we have as a logistics center. So this is what the power sector stands for. It's not only power, but technology is the way out for most of us.
Minister of Foreign Affairs President's Counsel Ali Sabri reiterated that the national problem will be resolved through an internal mechanism.
உறுப்பு நாடுகள் செப்டம்பர் செஷன்ல புதிய ஒரு பிரேரணையை இலங்கைக்கு எதிராக கொண்டு வரதுக்கு நடவடிக்கை எடுக்கணும்னு சொல்லி அறிக்கை வெளியிட்டிருக்காங்க. இது சம்பந்தமா இலங்கையோட நிலைப்பாடு?
We have strengthened the OMP office and executed many plans. Reports are sent to them from here. If that's not done, NGOs will shut them down. So we cannot do everything they ask. We have to find solutions for these issues of the people of our country. That is why the President said he is ready to talk about the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, police powers and land powers. We have established the TRC method to address these issues as an internal mechanism. We have to give solutions to these problems. I'm not saying everything is perfect. We will not accept external mechanisms as they betray the sovereignty of the country. They have no right to intervene in our affairs given their lack of action on other critical issues like Gaza. They talk about a situation that happened 15 years ago, driven by political motives rather than genuine concern for our country. If someone has done anything wrong, I will take action against it. International mechanisms don't matter to us. We will move forward with internal mechanisms.
Resolution le enna varanathu patti avlo micham consider panna mattam adile enna vando varallo naatla nadakakuriya domestic mechanism na continue panna.
For a rich country, rata anurata jatika jana balavegaya.
Last month, this time, a world of stories, knowledge and music just out of reach. Sri Gunananda, a small school in rural Sri Lanka, yearning to learn. A new chapter has begun. Classrooms, once quiet, now hum with the joy of discovery, music and stories, sparking imaginations. Gammadda, for the people, by the people.
For a rich country.
Welcome back. 79th independence of Indonesia was celebrated in Colombo yesterday.
The 79th Independence Day of Indonesia was held in Colombo yesterday, underscoring the strong diplomatic and cultural ties between Indonesia and Sri Lanka.
And Honorable Dr. Sirasa, Minister of Education.
The event was attended by Group Director of Capital Maharaja Group, S.C. Virasekara, the Indonesian Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Devi Thobing, Speaker Mahinda Apabe Wadana, Minister of Education Susil Premajanta, Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, and others.
Most recent, President Wickremesinghe was in Bali for the 10th World Water Forum in May 2024, where Sri Lanka joined Indonesia as a founding member of the G20 Bali Global Blended Finance Alliance. Sri Lanka recognizes Indonesia's firm commitment to integrating blended finance and into the G20 process as part of its vision to realize sustainable development globally. On the economic front, we must work towards a better balance in trade goods, which has been in Indonesia's favor. We are pleased to note several important investments from Sri Lanka in Indonesia in the apparel, plantation, tourism and hospitality and ICT sectors. There is, however, untapped economic potential which needs to be realized for mutual benefit. In pursuance of this objective, Sri Lanka and Indonesia have taken significant efforts to expand economic cooperation in recent times. The launching of the Preferential Trade Agreement (PTA) with Indonesia in March 2024 highlights our commitment to deepening our economic partnership and serves as a step towards a free trade agreement in the future. The development is a clear reflection of the keen interest by both countries to strengthen bilateral trade relations and achieve meaningful market access under the proposed PTA.
In her address, the Indonesian ambassador to Sri Lanka highlighted the importance of bilateral relations between Sri Lanka and Indonesia.
In promoting cooperation among nations, Indonesia enjoys a strong bond with Sri Lanka in many international organizations, showing the importance of both nations in the international era. The two countries also have much in common and boast a diverse population with different ethnicities, religious, and tradition, a diversity that strengthens and enriches the two nations' friendship. Indonesia attaches great importance to the development of Indonesia-Sri Lanka relations, which have historically occurred since many centuries ago. The relation between Indonesia and Sri Lanka continue to strengthen from year to year. Both Indonesian Foreign Minister and Sri Lanka Foreign Minister also encourage the need to speed up the process of PTA negotiations. The PTA will be an important tool to strengthen cooperation in economic and trade relations between the two countries. It is a pathway toward a future free trade agreement between Indonesia and Sri Lanka. Indonesia is very keen to advance relations with Sri Lanka for the benefit of the two people. It will continue to advance this effort to gain mutual benefit for our two people.
The celebration also featured cultural performances along with traditional Indonesian music, offering a glimpse into Indonesia's rich heritage.
A bikeathon titled Ride to Save Lives, a 1,333-kilometer bike ride organized by the CCC Foundation, will take to the streets on Thursday.
A press conference to launch Ride to Save Lives was held in Colombo yesterday.
At the time of the bikeathon, this increases tremendously. It hits 350, 400 sometimes. So that's the impact we create. And we cover 12 cities in Sri Lanka, ride approximately 1,333 kilometers, that's what we like to call it.
According to current reports, more than 3,000 people die every year from suicide in Sri Lanka. CCC Foundation organizes a 1,333-kilometer bike ride every year to raise awareness and to raise funds to prevent suicide in Sri Lanka. The CCC's 1333 telephone crisis support service has been operating for the past 10 years and has helped the people of Sri Lanka to rise up in their endeavors.
The inauguration ceremony of the JICA Chair Program 2024-2025 got underway at the University of Colombo today.
Japanese International Cooperation Agency or JICA has initiated JICA Chair to support future leaders in developing countries. The program explores Japan's modernization and development cooperation experiences in light of its historical and cultural backgrounds.
As Sri Lanka is in the process of overcoming its economic crisis and striving for achieving full-fledged economic growth, the timing of this program could not be more apt. Since its economic crisis in 2022, the Sri Lankan government, with the support of the IMF, has undertaken various economic and social reforms and engaged in negotiations on debt restructuring. Meanwhile, Japan has strongly supported Sri Lanka's efforts towards debt restructuring as a co-chair of the Official Creditor Committee, together with France and India, leading to the completion of signing of MOU in July. In light of these positive developments, the government of Japan has decided to resume the disbursement for the ongoing loan projects.
Particularly in the context of Sri Lanka, in 2022, we had economic crisis. We're still having a little bit of problem in terms of economic development. And I think, Sri Lanka can learn from Japan in terms of how we developed our nation economically, politically, internationally.
Japanese Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Mizukoshi Hideaki, Chief Representative of JICA Sri Lanka, Tatsuya Yamada, and Senior Professor H.D. Karunaratne were among those who attended the event.
And with that, we wrap up news for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.